Hello, and welcome to Alive with Bhavna. I'm Bhavna, and thank you for listening to today's show in which we are talking about embodiment. For those new to the show, my name is Bhavna. I come from South Africa. I've been in New Zealand for the last 12 years. I trained as a clinical psychologist in South Africa, and I work in my private practice called Alive Psychology here in New Zealand. My mindfulness practice started in South Africa, but grew into the self-love mindfulness here in New Zealand. This resulted in me writing a book called Self-Love, The First Step, which combines psychological tools with mindfulness tools. So today's talk is about embodiment. What is embodiment? So for the last week, I've been watching a lot of online sessions through the Embodiment conference. And hence embodiment is quite a big thing for me at the moment. Embodiment is the feeling of being in your body. The feeling of being connected with and to your body. Because it's an actual sensation and experience, it cannot be described in words. Because it's a felt process. What I feel when I'm embodied might be different to how you feel embodied. Mindfulness is one of the ways, or one of the tools to help us reach embodiment. So why is embodiment so important? On a really practical level, whether you do embodiment practices or not, you're in a body. You can feel that you're living in your body and you have no choice but to live in your body. The same way as our cats and dogs have no choice but to be in the shape of the body that they are in, we have no choice but to be in the shape of my body. But that's on a purely physical level. Unlike animals, we as humans are the only creature, blessed or cursed depending on your view, that can actually experience embodiment. And because we can experience embodiment, we can also experience the opposite, which is disconnection from our bodies. Other creatures do not have this option. Mindfulness and other embodiment practices have risen in popularity over the last decade or so. This is because so many of us are living in our heads, in our minds. And we completely forget that we have a body. We're living disconnected lives. The only time that we may notice we have a body is when we have little aches and pains here or there, or my body restricts me from doing what I want to do. That's when I realize, ooh, I have this body. But that realization of embodiment is tinged with a sense of irritation and annoyance at the body. Our increased reliance on technology has also contributed to our disembodiment. We no longer need physical contact with another person to have contact. We don't need to actually talk to another person. Many of my clients tell me, please text me, don't phone me. Because if you phone, that means I have to answer the phone, and I really don't want to talk. I hate answering the phone. I hate talking. That's how disconnected we have become. Not just from other people, but from ourselves as well. Because I can't get that level of connection if I don't feel disconnected within myself. For these clients, their main source of networking, social contact, is online. So they have these virtual friends who they've never met. They don't know if Mary is actually a woman, or if she's actually the person she says she is. So in that way, we live quite disconnected, disembodied lives. Disembodiment can result in us feeling like headless chicks, running around and feeling like we're not accomplishing anything, feeling depressed, anxious, and developing chronic physical conditions. If we connect it to our bodies, we may notice the messages that our bodies are giving us earlier on. And we may be able to attend to these messages earlier on and stop a chronic condition from developing. I remember a few years ago, I felt extremely fatigued. So much so I thought I was developing chronic fatigue syndrome. I just wanted to sleep the whole day, slept at night, just felt really, really tired. So I went to go see my doctor, and after doing a whole lot of blood tests and that, she basically said, all your blood levels are okay, not too sure why you're feeling fatigued. Then I went to see a nutritionalist, and she looked at my blood results differently and said, yep, your blood levels are right, but your iron's on the lowest end of normal spectrum. So let's look at building up your iron level, let's look at building up your levels. And yeah, since then I feel more energized, feel more alive. So it's about noticing these changes. And the more I've noticed my changes in my body, I've also started noticing what foods my body like and what foods my body doesn't like. So disembodiment also can happen as a result of trauma. Many of my clients, because of the traumatic experience, have psychologically separated from their bodies, because they feel the body is the thing that was traumatized or can be traumatized, can be hurt, can be violated. Whereas if I escape from my body, then I'm safe. I can't be hurt. So in this way, they protect themselves from the pain of their bodies by being disembodied or disconnected. Sadly, this creates its own pain. It creates the pain of disconnection, of isolation. And the pain of disconnection and isolation is one of the main causes of anxiety and depression. So what are some embodiment practices? There's various ways of getting back into your body. The main ones are using the breath, using the body, or using the five senses. In mindfulness practice, depends on the type of mindfulness practice you do. You can focus on the breath. You can focus on body in terms of movement, in terms of walking meditation, or you can notice your five senses. So mindfulness steps into all three modalities. Breath work clearly uses the breath, and using the breath to help us connect to our bodies. And then there's the body exercises, which are based on movement. So this can be yoga, sport, running, whatever is your embodiment practice, or just simple body awareness exercises, which I'll take you through later in this talk. From one of the speakers on the conferences, she said, how you breathe is how you live. And I really like that, because it connected to the idea of the importance of breathing and how my breath tells me about the state of my being. So I'm going to take you through some embodiment practices, because it's easy to talk about embodiment, but it's a lived experience. So today's a bit of a different type of session, because I'm going to ask you to do some stuff. If you're driving, working, doing anything that needs concentration, or there's people around you, please don't do these exercises. Watch this later and do it at home. So for those of you doing the practices in your office or in the car or something like that, what you can do is a really simple awareness exercise. Just bring your attention or your awareness into your body, noticing how you're sitting. Feeling your bum on the seat or your thighs, feeling your back, and just noticing what it feels like to sit at your office or in the car, or if you're standing, what does it feel like to feel the pressure on your feet? For the rest of you who's not doing anything active, let's play with the breath. Just as a fun way of teaching embodiment. So the breath affects our body. So first, I'd like you to take a few short breaths. So it's breathing in just into your chest area and breathing out. And we'll do about 5 of them together. So it's just and just notice what your body feels like when you do these short practices. So just allow your body to return back to normal. Just doing that short breathing, you might notice that you feel a little bit dizzy, tingling in your fingers. And if you do this long enough, you may notice your heartbeat, your heart rate increases. Now imagine that this is your normal type of breathing. This is how you breathe all the time. Because of anxiety, because of fear, because of where you're living, this is your normal breathing. You're breathing in the top half of your lungs, short breaths, which activates our fight or flight system. And that's how we become disembodied, because if I take short breathings, I'm activating my fight or flight. Now let's do the opposite. This time I want you, if you want, you can put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And just start by breathing into your stomach or your belly and just noticing if that increases or lifts as you breathe. And then breathing out. And as you're breathing out, just allow your stomach to pull in. For some people, this may be really difficult because you're not used to breathing in right into your body. And it's just noticing if you can do the stomach breathing or not. If you can't, that's okay. Just fill the top of your lungs as much as you can. For those who can do both, let's do this exercise where first you fill up your stomach, then you fill up your chest, then you slowly release from your stomach, and then you slowly release from your chest. And it's just watching that wave movement between the breathing. And I'll breathe out so you can actually hear the rhythm of the breathing. So it's taking a deep breath in and out. And one more. And just allowing your breathing to return to normal. And noticing what that kind of breathing does to you. What that connected breathing is, breathing from our full lungs does, as it calms our fight or flight brain. It works on the vagal nerve, which activates our fight or flight system. So it's just about becoming aware of what does this breathing pattern feel like. Can you do this breathing, obviously without your hands on the chest and your stomach, as you go to the supermarket? Can you do this breathing in the car? Can you do this breathing pattern as part of your daily life? Because the more we do the slower breathing, the more embodied I feel. The more calmer my mind and body is. The more I can concentrate, focus, engage with people because I'm not in my fight or flight mode. Of course, a lot of you might be thinking that's a bit of a fantastical idea. I haven't got time to breathe this way the whole day. I'm too busy and there's no time to really focus on my breathing or focus on embodiment. That's fine. See if you can do that once a day, twice a day, or at one activity in your day. It's just noticing how to connect and giving yourself that tiny permission to be embodied for that short period of time. So yeah, for me, it's while I'm driving, I love traffic lights because a red light means stop. I don't have to do anything, so I can actually just stop and practice embodiment practices there, connecting to my body, feeling myself in my body. Waiting to pick up the children, waiting for the computer to boot up, waiting for the microwave as you warm up your food. Any of our normal waiting activities, I can just take a few breaths and feel embodied. And in this way, the more I practice it, the more it becomes my default. Some of you may not be interested in doing breathing exercises. So it's just playing with physical exercises, embodied work, more bodily practices. So we don't have time to do a full body, what they call a touch bath. But we'll just kind of take you through maybe 2 short practices in terms of feeling yourself embodied. This is especially if you're anxious or you're tense, and getting into your body is quite a scary experience, or it feels quite uncomfortable. It's doing what they call the bear hug. So it's taking your, and this helps with, you can watch the YouTube video. So taking your left hand and putting it under your right armpit, and taking your right hand and just hugging yourself, and just holding yourself in this nice tight hug, and notice what that feels like. If this way feels uncomfortable, swap your arms around. And it's just noticing how you feel as you hug yourself. When we're in our fight or flight mode, when we're anxious, our primitive brain is activated. This is one of the ways of calming that primitive brain. This is one of the ways of going, I've got you. It's like swaddling a baby. That's when they feel safe. This is us swaddling ourselves. So it's just playing with giving yourself a hug when you need it. Don't know why the underarm thing helps, but that's what they do. Another way of calming your fight or flight brain in terms of a physical exercise is just by gently hugging yourself or crossing your arms over your chest, and doing some tapping exercises. So you can either tap rhythmically together, so both hands tapping at the same time. And again, this taps into our brain function of when we're anxious, when we're stressed, movement helps. And that's why a lot of people, when they're stressed, they'll do the rocking or repetitive movements. This is combining the hugging with repetitive movements. It's the same way as which we calm a baby. And when you're hugging a baby, you're holding them and you're just tapping. So either the tapping together, or some people prefer the bilateral tapping, which is tapping one side and then the other. So almost think of it as wings on the bird, and you flap one side and then you flap the other side. And these are just 2 ways in which we can bring ourselves into our bodies and connect and breathe. The touch bath is simply about touching yourself from head to toe, either by rubbing your hands through your whole body or by tapping yourself. Like I said, we don't have time to go through the full one, but play with this idea. It's just about connecting with your full body. You know, feeling your head, touching it, coming down to your neck and your whole body, and just feeling as if you're in your body. And the more we practice that, the more embodied we feel, the more connected to our being we are. And that just helps us feel safer. Embodiment, one of the side effects of feeling embodied is I do feel safe. I feel peaceful. It's exactly the same thing as mindfulness. The aim of mindfulness is not relaxation. The aim of mindfulness is not calmness, peace. Those are side effects. And it's the same thing with these practices. The aim isn't to feel calm and relaxed. The aim is just to feel embodied. This is our natural state. When we were babies, we were embodied. When we were young kids, if we didn't have trauma early on, we were embodied. And when we embodied, we deal with crises very differently. And now you see children sad or angry and then forgot about it. They've moved on. That's what embodiment is about, learning how to live fully in our bodies. Because this is where we are. I'm not up here. That part is a figment of my imagination. That part is never real. So thank you for joining me, and thank you if you've done the exercises. If you want to know more or get in touch with me, you can find all my details on my website, which is alivepsych.co.nz. And I look forward to seeing you next month when we talk about something else. Thank you.